Hi, this is Susan Frew, and welcome to QSC TV and the Introduction to Pillar 1. This video is for the defined purpose of teaching the coaches how to deliver the PowerPoint in Pillar 1. Behind the scenes of the PowerPoint in every single module, there will be exercises that will live in a shared Dropbox at this time that the coaches can access to give out to their clients as we go through the exercise. The first thing that we're going to do before diving into Pillar 1 is we are going to give the client and go through with them the blueprint assessment of their business. This is 144 questions that we're going to go through which correlate with a lesson and an exercise behind it to help the business owner to move his business forward. The blueprint assessment is also going to score the business in 10 areas that are correlated with each pillar. So the business owner has a very concrete view of where they are lacking in their business, where they are excelling, and what kind of work that they need to do to get their business ready. And what we mean by ready is to get an over 80% score in all of the areas. So their business, we would call it as finished, and that is the roof of the pillars, on top of the pillars. The results end would then allow the business owner to sell his business, pass it on to his kids, put a general manager in, or maybe go into another type of business. So it is designed to get the business completely systemized from beginning to end and have everything running on all 8 cylinders and get them to go where they want to go. So as we go through it, you will see the foundation is where we are working now. And then the pillars will be on top of the foundation, and then eventually we will get to the roof, which is results. That is the end of the coaching engagement. Many clients will ask, well, how long does this take? It takes between 1 year, sometimes 2 years, 3 years, 5 years to get through all the pillars. This is all driven by the client's desire to be successful and to close out all of the work that needs to be done in his business and their desire to get to that end. A lot of clients will not have that vision, and that is something as your coach that you can help them to figure out what their vision is for their business, what they truly want to gain out of it, and what kind of lifestyle that goes along with that. That's incredibly important to get that known by the coach in the foundation piece, and that's what this exercise is designed to do. So we will take them through all of the pillars and share with them all of the lessons that they will be learning. They'll be learning about marketing, they'll be learning about human resources, they'll be learning about processes and procedures, they'll be learning about team training and getting their team on board and everyone engaged. We'll be talking about mission and vision and culture in this lesson because that is incredibly important on the foundation to have those fundamentals mapped out so the business owner knows exactly what he wants out of the business. And as we go forward, we will start talking about the foundation. So first we're going to go through the rules of engagement. We will be going through the DISC profile. We will be doing a culture, mission, vision exercises. We will be looking at the business owner's values and their system and what's important to them. This will build the foundation for all of the other coaching pillars that come along after this. Without this step, it is incredibly difficult to get the results that your client wants. It also is a point in the coaching relationship where the client is getting a little itchy. They've signed up for coaching, they want to get results super fast, the coach wants to get some results super fast, but I encourage you wholeheartedly, do not skip this step, because if we do not set the foundation, it's almost impossible. Just like a building, if we build a bad foundation, that building is not going to stand, it's not going to be able to weather any storms or any problems or any issues in the business. We can't just go in and wanting to put band-aids on all of the problems that the business owner has. This will give them the opportunity to really set their goals and build a strong foundation so that we can start layering all of the other knowledge on top of it and make it stick and keep them as a long-term client and give them the results that they desire. We always say in coaching that instead of giving a man a fish and he'll have food for a day, that we want to teach a man to fish and he'll have fish for a lifetime. And that is how the Pillars program is designed. So the first thing that we are going to go through with a client are the rules of engagement of coaching. This is critical in your coaching success with your client. I can say that there's probably nothing more important than this right here, is where you are setting the expectations with your client on what they can expect from you and from the coaching process, what they can expect from you and the coaching process, and what you can expect from them and what part they will be responsible for. Rule number 1 in coaching engagement is to have the client set aside a minimum of 4 hours a week working on their business instead of working in the business. I know this will be a challenge for the smaller operators and the solopreneurs, but they need to find a way to niche out that time that they can be working on their lessons, reading about ways to make their business more successful, doing any exercises that you've given them, working on strategy and planning inside of their business, looking at the financials, working on their marketing. I know this sounds like a lot and it seems a little overwhelming, but we are going to take it in bite-sized chunks. But you must get the client at this point to commit that they are going to set aside time to be able to do this and to go through the coaching process with you. If they are really overwhelmed with time, there is a time management pillar coming up in pillar 3. However, you might need to right now stop and have them break out their calendar and you work with them to find a place where they can fit in the opportunity for coaching. If they are once again completely overwhelmed, this client might be a really better fit for group coaching where he gets involved in a webinar or meets with his group twice a month or once a month, and he really just isn't ready for that next step of one-on-one coaching, which would be more of a commitment of time. Also in this area, we are going to be looking at the DISC profile of the owner and hopefully of all of his and her employees, because that is critically important that we have the right people and the right people on the bus. Another big rule here in rules of engagement, clients must be willing to face the hard facts about their business. As coaches, we never deliver the best news, but we deliver the honest news. And sometimes that's very difficult for a client to hear, all of the things that are broken in their business. We also need to tell the clients that they need to be very decisive, and this goes with headcount. Sometimes as a coach, we'll walk into a business and there'll be an employee that's been there for many, many, many years. They're like family, so on and so forth, but they're completely ineffective. We need to encourage our business owners to look objectively at their teams and making sure that everyone in their company is the right fit now for their dreams and goals and vision of the company as they move forward. So they need to be honest and they need to be willing to make those decisions sometimes that are not going to be easy. This is also a great time to encourage your clients to be decisive because they need to make quick decisions in order to get great results. And this is my favorite and my number 1 rule of coaching. A client must take this out of his vernacular. That's the way we've always done it, because those 7 words will kill a business faster than anything else in the world. So now I'm going to take you through the slides. I will tell you right now in the beginning, as you look at them as they are, they don't really tell a great story. There's a lot of pictures and images, and that was designed intentionally. A couple of different reasons. One is that we never, ever, ever want to read slides. We want to explain a slide, an idea, and share that with our audience, but we never want to read a slide. So that's why you'll see the slides have very little information on them. It's really going to be what's coming out of your mouth is going to be what is true about the slide. But I have built in notes to every single slide, so if you study that and then you're able to practice it and deliver it in your own words, it's going to make it much more personalized, much more natural, and much easier for you to connect and communicate to your audience. First thing we want to talk about is fear with a client, because fear is a number 1 reason which will hold clients back from getting what they want, because they're afraid of change, they don't know what's going to happen, they don't know if they move away from something that's worked for 25 years, if it's going to ruin their business if they try something new. So as a coach, it is really imperative for you to get comfortable with sharing with them. Do not be afraid. It is okay. We're going to get through it. We have coached thousands of people before you and they're all happy. So this is a great time for you to address that before it comes up elsewhere. Another thing that you will see in the pillar 1 is the formula for change. This is a scientific formula. You can look it up on Wikipedia. It's awesome though, because this really helps you to understand how motivated your client is going to be to make a change. So the formula goes like this: D times V plus F has to be greater than R. So what is that formula? It's actually mathematical, and if you were wanting to put numbers to it, you could, and you would actually get a formula number out of there. But for simplicity's sake, let's just take a scale from 1 to 10. 1 being, not so much, 10 being, I'm on fire about this idea. So we want to look at the D, and that is dissatisfaction. So if a client is not dissatisfied with the state of their business, and they're maybe at a 1 or 2 on the dissatisfaction scale, your likelihood of getting them to make changes is going to be very difficult. The V in the equation, the times the V, is their vision. If they're really fuzzy and muddy about what they want out of their business and the clarity on where they're going, once again, it's going to be almost impossible to get them to move forward because they can't see their vision. So your goal is to try and get that vision as high as you can, up to a 10. And that is full clarity on where they are going. The dissatisfaction level, the more dissatisfied a client is in their current state of their business, where they're holding up their hands and their hair's on fire, that is a client that is going to get results super fast. And then the F is the first steps. What are they willing to do to make those changes in their business to become satisfied and to see their vision in action and actually playing out? And then the R is resistance. So let's use this example. Most of us know someone who's lost a tremendous amount of weight. So say there's a person who lost 100 pounds. They had a desire and they were so dissatisfied with their current weight that they just had had enough. And they had a vision of what life would be like if they lost that 100 pounds. So they were willing to take the first steps of changing their eating habits and working out and making all of the mental changes that they needed to do to get rolling. And all of those things were greater than their resistance at that time, and they lost the 100 pounds. But then sometimes we see those 100-pound losers come back and gain the 100 pounds back. And the reason for that is that their dissatisfaction and their vision and all the steps that they were taking were not greater than their resistance to change. So resistance to change is the enemy of coaching. Because if we can't get past that resistance and the deep-rooted problems of resistance, then we're not going to get lifelong changes. We might get change for a little while, but that's basically where it ends. In the next slide, you are going to see a video. There's going to be videos peppered into all of the presentations. So this is a great time for you to pause, play the video, and then have a brief discussion with your client over what you saw. And then we're going to talk about the steps of learning. The steps of learning go from unconsciously incompetent. You don't know what you don't know. So there's really no way for you to make a change. As a coach, you are then going to be illustrating in the blueprint assessment what the client needs to learn and take him through the learning modules all the way up to the top till he becomes consciously competent and then unconsciously competent, where you're just doing things on autopilot and you're great at them. So encourage the client to look at this slide and to understand that this is natural. There's going to be a lot of things that you don't understand in the beginning of coaching and about your business, and then you will eventually get more and more comfortable, and then you will be on autopilot, and it will be just the way you've been running your business now, but with the right habits and ideas. The next part of this is the identity iceberg. You may have seen this before, and I will share with you, this is probably the closest that a business coach gets to life coaching. And why this is in foundation and why this is so important is because a lot of times we will just see the behaviors and the actions of the client on the surface. And there's a lot of other stuff going on beneath the surface, where maybe they've had a business in the past that failed, or maybe someone told them sometime that they were never going to be successful, or maybe they put it in their mind that they would never get past 5 trucks. All of these things are things that would be holding a client back from getting the results that they want and from you coaching them into greatness. So I encourage you to pay really close attention to this slide. It's very powerful, and it will give you the tools to get more success for your client. And we all became coaches because we want to help people be more successful. And that's what this is, the foundation will help you to do. When you look at the blueprint assessment, so here it is, it seems a little complicated, but basically all the client needs to do is go down the left side margin and change from true to false, true to false, true to false. And this is going to ultimately give them a score in all of the pillar areas that gives the coach a roadmap to how to coach that client, because every client is different. Now, granted, we want every single client to go through all of the pillars, but some of them are going to go through at a different pace than others. This blueprint, and once you see the score, will give you a map of how to coach this client the best in order to get the results that they want to get, and you will find all of their deep-seated problem areas. Every line on the blueprint assessment is going to correlate with an exercise that goes along with the coaching program that you will either have your client do or go online or do an exercise, some kind of activity that is going to get their score higher in that area. The goal is to get them up to 80% across the board, and then that gives them the freedom. So one of our QSC trustees was brave enough to actually take the test for us and give us a great idea of what it looks like if a real business owner were to take that test. And you'll see his results in a little bit. The next thing that's really important in Foundation is the DISC profile. I personally would never coach anyone without knowing their DISC profile. And granted, if you're attuned to it and you're well trained in it, you can usually pick up someone's DISC profile in a conversation, but it really makes sense for you to run the DISC profile on every single client that you're working with. Running it on their teams could be something that's optional later on down the line in the team section of the pillars, but for right now, you want to make sure that you run the DISC profile on at least the owner, partner, if not top tier managers, so that they understand who they are. You as a coach understand what they're motivated by, and you can coach them better, because you are going to coach a D client very differently than you would coach an S client. And you need to know that so that you have the tools in order to get them through the coaching process the most effectively. So we made the DISC sequence very brief. There are notes behind, so you have who are Ds, who are Is, who are S's, who are C's. So now what? Right? So now you've run the DISC profile, you know everyone's DISC. Now as a coach, you have an idea of how to coach them best. It's a great idea then for you to start teaching the client about the DISC so that they can start looking at their team and deciding if Mary, who's a really high C and is their outbound marketing and salesperson, maybe she is not in the right seat on the bus. And you need to be evaluating that. If you have a really high I, super outgoing person, and you put them in the back room in the accounting department, that may not be the best fit for them. And we'll get more into that when we get into the team. But up front, it's critically important for you to know your client's DISC profile and them to understand theirs as well. So here is a great DISC test that I personally use, and they have great training online where you can actually get certified in the DISC process if it's not something that you're already familiar with. The next part of this section is the vision, mission, and culture. We've put some examples in here of companies that we believe are the very best at culture and vision and mission, like Google and Southwest, and we actually added one of the country's largest mechanical contractors in there. And what are their values? This is a point in the process where you are going to stop and do exercises with your clients. So you can use this in a number of ways. You can do it for group coaching once again. You can do it one-on-one, or if you're on site at a client's office, you can engage the entire management team in doing the vision, mission, and culture. I would encourage you, though, that the core values, what's really important to the owner of the business, should be done by the owner of the business and maybe their family or their very top tier managers. That is not really something that I encourage the entire team to do, because it could make a wrong turn very quickly. Also, if you have a business that has a very bad culture, I would probably say it's not the best idea to do a culture exercise in a room full of people that have a bad culture. I would start making steps in the beginning to start identifying and changing that culture, and then you can bring people into the room and make adjustments. Because if the culture's already gone south, you don't want to make it worse and turn it into a giant negative session, which is something that we always want to avoid. And culture matters tremendously. You hear the buzzwords, culture, culture, culture. People hire on culture, people stay on culture, people get fired on culture. And in today's world, it's incredibly important. And we need to address it with our clients, starting with the root of who they are and what their values are all about. So there will be a values exercise, which the client will just circle all of their top values. Then there will be an exercise on how you complete your vision and how you complete your mission and how you complete your points of culture. Please don't skip this step. I know that there may be some Band-Aid items that you need to put in, but please don't skip this because it's incredibly important to the client and to your success. And then we go through more about what is mission and vision that you can explain to the clients. There are notes at the bottom for you to read. Here we have another video, Simon Sinek with the Book of Why, and you would want to play this video now for your client, either on a webinar or face-to-face. And then the 90-day blueprint. So once you've completed the blueprint assessment, you're going to take the top 3 or 4 things that are really burning in that business and put them on the 90-day plan. And those are the things that you are going to work on in the next 90 days to get the clients the results that they need and to hold them accountable to hitting those targets. So in the blueprint assessment, you will take the assessment, you'll see the results tab, and then you'll have the opportunity to map out the 90-day plan of all of the top things that they need to be focused on. When they are writing their goals, they must be SMART. So if a client says, I want to increase my revenue by next year, okay, that is not a SMART goal. A SMART goal has to be specific, and it has to have a timeline, and it has to be measurable, and it has to be realistic. So a great example of a SMART goal is, I am going to increase my revenue by 10% by implementing new marketing strategies, by holding my team accountable to their quotas, and I am going to get this done by next year, and I am going to have X amount dollars allocated to increase my marketing so that I can hit these targets. So if the goal is not SMART, as their coach, you must tell them that goal doesn't apply and continue to have them work at it until they can get SMART goals written down in their 90-day plan. Later on in the pillars, we will do a full-blown strategic plan, which would be designed for clients to come together for an entire day and work on their plan. But for now, we're just looking for the top tier 90-day plan items, and we may be adding things as we go along the pillars to this plan. Here is a results map of the blueprint so that they can see where their goal setting is. So as you are coaching them through the goal setting, you will find the lowest tiers where they scored the lowest. Absolutely one of those needs to go on the 90-day plan where they scored the lowest, and then start working your way through. Don't ignore the ones though where they scored high. They still should go through that pillar lesson, but maybe it's more of a refinement and not just a lesson. Also, key performance indicators are key. We're going to talk more about that in another pillar. But for now, if they say that they need to increase their revenue, what are those key performance indicators that are behind driving that revenue? And maybe it's more leads. Indicator is that needs to go in the goals document. And then we will be doing just the blueprint for the 90-day plan. They will have it in their document. I encourage you then to go through the blueprint assessment with them at least quarterly, if not more, so that they can see their success and see their score going up, because it's going to be a huge motivator for them to stay with the coaching and to be proud of themselves for what they have accomplished. And that is basically all that I have in Pillar 1 Foundations. And thank you so much for being part of this process along this journey with us so that we can change lives and we can make successful businesses for everyone in the QSC community and family. So thank you for watching QSC TV.